Good morning, friends. This is Kiran from siritechonline training. In the previous video, we discussed what is a programming language, what are the different types of programming languages, what is a program, what is the need of writing a program. All these things we discussed. So, as we said earlier, there are hundreds of programming languages available in the computer world. But one thing we have to remember here is any computer in the world can understand only one language. What is that? It is machine language. Any computer, whether it is a desktop or a laptop, whether it is a mainframe computer or a like a normal computer, a supercomputer, even a mobile, any type of device you take, so it can understand only one language, that is machine language. A computer other than zeros and ones, it cannot understand anything. Any computer understand only two things, zeros and ones. Now we have to raise a question. If a computer can understand machine language only, then how it is understanding and executing my C program, my C++ program, my Java program, or my Python program? If a computer knows only machine language, how these programming languages are working in my system? For that purpose, every computer, it provides a special software. We call it a translator. So what is a translator? As the name implies, it is the software that converts a program written in some language into the computer understandable language, that is machine language. A translator is a software which converts our program written in some language into computer understandable language, that is machine language. In the programming world, we have three types of translators available. In the programming world, we have three types of translators available. So what are they? The first one, it's a compiler. Then we have an interpreter. Then we have assembler. These are the three different type of translators available in the computer world. Of course, assembler is the program that converts an assembly language program into machine code. Assembler is the software that converts an assembly language program into machine code. Now what is compiler and what is interpreter? Now let's see here. Compiler, it converts a high level language program into machine code or an intermediary code. In some languages like Java, the compiler program, what it will do, it won't convert the program directly into machine code, but some middle level language code, an intermediary code, it will convert. So that's what a compiler does. Then what an interpreter does? Interpreter, it converts a high level language program. Or an intermediary code into machine code. The intermediary code or a high level language program, an interpreter, it converts into machine code. So what is the difference between compiler and interpreter? What is the difference between compiler and interpreter? Just see here. Suppose that we have written a program. A program is nothing but a collection of instructions. Suppose while writing this program, there are two errors. So I have two errors in the program here. Once the program was written, first suppose assume that I asked the compiler to execute the program. When I ask the compiler to convert the program, it won't start a translation. Compiler won't start translation. Why? Because there are errors in the program. So what the compiler tells, Mr. Kiran, in your program you have two errors available. First resolve them. First resolve those errors. Once you resolve the errors, then I will start the translation. So once our program becomes error free, once our program becomes bug free, bug error, so then it will start executing the program. Means what a compiler does, just we can say something like compiler, it performs at a time translation. So once all the errors are rectified, then it will start translating the program at a time. So which programming language uses compilers? Like for example, C, C++, these are some programming languages which uses compilers. Now, what about an interpreter? Suppose that the same program I have assigned to an interpreter. The same program I have assigned to an interpreter. So what the interpreter does, what it will do is, without checking for errors, directly it will start a translation. First it will select the program, converts it into machine code, executes it. Then it will select the second statement, convert to machine code, execute. Third statement, convert, execute. Fourth. Once it finds an error, it will stop. Once it finds an error, it will stop. Then it will show, up to here fine, but in the fifth line you have an error, please resolve. So once the error is rectified, then it will continue the next statement, like that it will go. So here next it finds an error, it will stop and it will show the error. Once the error is solved, then it will continue. So directly it will start converting the program into machine code, and it will execute the code line by line. So that's why what we can say, interpreter, it performs line by line translation. Interpreter, it performs line by line translation. So that's what. So which language uses interpreters? When we see PHP, so PHP, then Python, next R, JavaScript. So these are some languages which uses interpreters as the translators. These are some languages which uses interpreters as the translators. But which one is faster if we ask? So if the program has no errors, whatever the program you have written, if it has no errors, interpreter, because it directly executes the program, it's faster. But the advantage of compiler is, it will create the machine code only when there are no errors. Once the machine code is created, you can directly execute it. In that way, it is faster. Everything will have its own plus and minus. But here we missed some programming languages. What are they? We missed some programming language. What are they? Like when we take the programming language Java, C Sharp, .NET, J Sharp, .NET, there are some programming languages available. We call them compiled and interpreted language. As the programming language uses both compilers and interpreters, we call them compiled and interpreted language. So that's what we can say about these languages. Means that's why developing a programming language is not an easy task. Okay, suppose you have developed a new programming language. So developing the programming language, so our task is not done. To make your program executable, to convert your programs in the new language into machine code, it is our duty to create corresponding translator also. Whether it is compiler or interpreter, up to us. Apart from that, we need to create some more other softwares. What is the next one? Debugger. Bug, just I showed, just I discussed, like the errors that will rise in a program, we call it a bug. Then what is a debugger? Debugger is an error detection software. What is debugger? It is an error detection software. Debugger is used to detect the errors in the program, so it's an error detection software. The error detection process, we call it debugging. The error detection process is called debugging, and this debugging is done by debugger. Apart from that, we need some more other softwares like loaders, linkers, the programming language like C, macro processors. So developing a programming language is not an easy task. Along with that programming language, you have to create several other softwares like this. So this is what exactly the purpose of a translator and what a programming language includes. Like this we can say. Like this we can say, what's a programming language? Just we can describe the programming language like this. So translator is the program. It's a software that converts a program written into some language into computer understandable form, that is machine language. So which translator? In different languages they use different type of translators. Some language like C and C++ uses compilers. Some language like Python, PHP, or they use interpreters. Some language they use both compiler and interpreter like Java, C Sharp, .NET, like that. So this is one more important software that every program needs. Okay, so that's about the concept of translators. In our next session we will start what exactly is a C programming language. When there are several programming languages available, means before C is not the first programming language. Before C many languages, dozens of languages available. But still, why people went for a new programming language called C? What is the reason? And what are the important characteristics of C language? These all things will continue in our next video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's meet in our next video. Okay? Thank you.